When I thought about the prophet's early days as a minister, I pictured a young man who was active in the local religious community, warning them about the soon coming judgment that would happen just before the end of days. I thought of him as a separatist, as he was later, even during what I thought were his early days as a minister. According to the prophet, he had been hearing a voice keeping him on the straight and narrow pathway to heaven all his life, and during the times that he didn't listen to that voice, he was met with tragedy. He claimed to have heard that voice since he was a toddler. Jeffersonville, Indiana sits right on the outskirts of the Bible Belt, which is evident by the large number of churches in the city. There is a church on almost every street corner, some of which are new, but many that already existed at the time the prophet started his own ministry. Downtown Jeffersonville has beautiful church buildings with wonderfully architected designs that were popular in the 1800s and early 1900s. I pictured a young prophet visiting each of them. I pictured him using one of his other sayings, "Come follow me as I follow Christ." When I learned about the dreadful activities of his pastor during those years, I really started to question my mental images of what the prophet's early ministry would have looked like. Roy Davis was running from a criminal past, and he fled Louisville, Kentucky to Jeffersonville, Indiana to evade conviction, not because of any spiritual or religious intent. I became even more curious as to why the prophet stayed with him, not just during that time, but also for decades to come. As I collected articles about Roy Davis, I started putting them in chronological order to form a timeline. By linking the events by time, it became much easier to watch the story unfold. I knew from a few articles that I'd collected so far that Davis was not a reputable person by any standards. Reading them in order chronologically, however, it made me realize that the evil I had sensed was far bigger than one person. This was an organized strategy. Multiple men had to be involved. No single person could have pulled it off. It was a coordinated effort, and the prophet was simply a cog in a much bigger wheel. When Roy Davis lost his foothold in Louisville, Kentucky, after a criminal conviction, he did not abandon his objectives in the Louisville and southern Indiana area. It was evident that Davis was a man on a mission, and though I did not have enough pieces of the puzzle to know what that mission was, it was very clear that he had gone too far to abandon it. It was also clear that other people were involved. If it were a one-man operation, he would have simply fled the area after his criminal conviction. Religious types do not generally categorize pastors with criminal records as reputable. Yet as the story began to unfold in Jeffersonville, his reputation was apparently unaffected by his negative publicity. I found this fact to be very strange. In 1931, Roy's brothers Dan S. Davis and Wilbur L. Davis migrated north from Texas to help Davis rebuild his operation. Like Roy, both brothers were ministers of the gospel, and they came to hold an old-fashioned revival in Jeffersonville. These were the same brothers who assisted Roy Davis in bank fraud, landing Roy Davis his first criminal conviction in the state of Texas, and multi-state manhunt by the Texas Rangers. Like Roy, it was clear that his brothers were not reputable. Unlike Roy, however, neither appears to have been convicted in the bank fraud, and they could still identify themselves as reputable preachers in the unsuspecting town of Jeffersonville, Indiana.